Hey family, it's Tasha, Mama Bear Homestead. So I know that it has been a while since I brought you a video, and I just wanted to take a minute and kind of walk you through what I've been doing on the homestead to kind of prepare for the frost. So by the time you see this, you know, a lot of you have hit that frost, but a bunch of you have not hit it yet. And so I'm just going to kind of walk you through the different things that I did. I'm going to be showing pictures throughout this video of different things that I did. You know, I knew frost was going to come. If you're new to gardening, you can literally just Google for your area when it is expected for that year, for the first frost and also the last frost, because the final frost matters, because then that's when you can start direct sowing and starting your outdoor garden, right? But the last frost is super important because, or first frost is important because you have this garden that's been growing all summer, that's doing great, right? Doing all these things, right? And you've been producing, and a lot of it still, even in the month of, you know, September, October, even maybe November, is still viable and is producing stuff. And for us, I had a lot of stuff that had a lot of greenery, a lot of trees, a lot of fruit that was still being produced. You know, for example, my tomatillos were pretty much done by November, but I still had tons and tons of tomatoes. And so it becomes, what are the projects that need to happen for winter? And some of the things I had to think about was, especially learning and being a new gardener, is what stuff did I want to overwinter, right? I knew that I had read and watched videos and researched how to overwinter all of my pepper plants. And so I knew I had to get that done. So I had to do that. What I ended up doing with those pepper plants is I ended up keeping some outside under my frost mesh, and then I took some inside into the garage. We do not have our greenhouse yet. We had family come in. There's been a lot of expense with family members and caregiving that we weren't expecting, the level of caregiving. And so we had to put a hold on purchasing our greenhouse. Okay. And so what that means is we might actually rethink how we want to do the greenhouse in general, and we might end up just making it a project and building it, but we'll see. For now, a lot of stuff went to my garage. So I have a detached garage. Obviously the temperature is much better in there than it is keeping stuff outside. And so it was a process. We moved all our tomatoes, and I'll show you, you know, the best I could do was in the garage and then put stuff by a window, and put it by the window that gets the most sun. Tons of airflow because it's a detached garage and because it's a little bit older. So there's no issues with that. Light so far is working, even though it seems kind of dark and gloomy in there in general. It's working out so far. Okay. So I put all the tomato plants in there. I had 3 that have been producing like a gem this whole year. And so I'll show you the pictures. They're still producing. I've pruned them back terribly, right? They're ugly, right? There's hardly any leaves left on them, but they're still producing. And so I'm at a minimum trying to get everything that is showing that is produced to ripen, and then I'll take them off and we'll keep freezing. Basically, we've gotten so many tomatoes, we've just had to wash them and freeze them, because too many, right? And I plan to do sauce and all this stuff with them. So I'm super excited. Brought the pepper plants in that I had overwintered, meaning I had cut them all back, harvested all the peppers off them, cut them down low to the Y, covered them up, and they are in the garage as well. We also had several plants. Now we have tons of plants that are predominantly in planters, because if you've been following me for a while in my other channel, we had a huge septic system failure that we had to basically bring people in and get our septic upgraded. It went from gravity to pressurized, a huge project, but I couldn't really touch my backyard as far as my plans for growing food in the backyard until that was done. And so that kept me to, as you guys know, the patio garden only. So a lot of stuff, thankfully, was in pots. And so I just carted those pots with the avocado trees, with the lemon tree, the pomegranate tree, the different fruit trees that we had. I just carted them into the garage, and so they are in the garage in front of the window as well, all those plants. And it's okay if some of those still die back down and kind of go a little dormant during winter. That's okay, because a lot of them would anyway, right? but I just didn't want to kill them off because we were talking about temperatures of the 20s, low 20s, and several days, and highs of maybe, if we're lucky, the 40s during the day. And this has been this whole week that I'm in now, and it has been cold. And so I'm thankful that I did all that stuff. Then there was all the winter stuff, right? The stuff I had just planted. Some stuff had been planted and is kind of established already. Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, onions, garlic, potatoes, a ton of stuff, right? That was still out there. And so what I did was I bought mesh and I covered it, and I wasn't really feeling the mesh. I was thinking like, okay, because it's for breathable, it's so that rain can still get through. But I noticed as soon as the frost came, some of that frost did penetrate and get in there, but it's not even close to the stuff that was out that got totally destroyed by the frost. So I'm glad that I covered that stuff. The night before, I ran out of mesh, so I ended up covering, and I'll show you here in pictures. I ended up showing covering a bunch of stuff last minute with sheets, with bedding sheets. That worked. Some of them didn't. Some of them the plants died anyway. But again, I think that they just weren't going to make it anyway. I'm at the end of my sweet potatoes, and so they have to be brought out or harvested anyway. And so we'll see exactly what this frost did once we've kind of gone through this, couple weeks. In the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts on how you have dealt with frost, what you have done, little hacks you've done to, especially when like I had time. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be hardcore too, where there was no hemming and hawing about like, oh, maybe I won't do it, maybe it won't be. No, I knew from jump, if the frost is here and it's going to be a whole week of like 20s. And so because I really just knew it was going to come and it wasn't going to be onesie twosies where I could try to make decisions, right? I was able to prepare. I had trees we had planted. Again, we didn't really have access to our backyard. We just got access, so we just planted a couple trees, nothing major. And I had the pussy willow that, Papa had bought me, earlier in the year. And so I got the tree covers and I covered those trees, and I got the, burlap to wrap the bottom of them, to hopefully keep, the frost from getting to those roots, keeping it a little bit warmer than it was going to get. I don't know if that stuff's going to help. Again, these are trees that would have lost their leaves anyway, so we'll see what that maintenance and doing this before frost has done for me. The bad thing about frost too is there was a bunch of stuff. For example, I wanted to plant around the chicken coop that it's just too cold to be planting stuff right now, right? And I'm concentrating and trying to shift to the indoor garden. I just did my video yesterday, so if you go to yesterday's video on Mama Bear Prepping, you'll get to see my indoor garden, at least the first video of it, just getting it off the ground. So much more to do in that space. And more things to start, more things to get. So that is definitely a raw, brand new thing of trying to figure out how to do that indoor garden. Later in the week on that channel too, I'll be showing microgreens. I might bring that video over here and show you guys the microgreens. First time for doing that, so you can kind of see my failures with the microgreens, but also my success. So I might bring that video over here as well. I'm going to try to bring more videos over here. I've been doing where I haven't done a video on this channel for a long time, and I was doing it once a week. I'm gonna go back, but I'm gonna give you guys and try to do a couple videos a week on this channel, so that you can see that. But please, if you are not a subscriber of this channel, please take a minute and subscribe, support me. And then of course, if you are not a subscriber of Mama Bear Prepping, head over to that channel. There should be a link in the description box so that you can subscribe over there as well. Over there, I talk a little bit more of preparedness, hardcore prepping, preparedness, emergency preparedness, and current events, and kind of how those current events shape how we do things. Okay, on this channel, it's more of us trying to show you how we're just a basic family who has half an acre. We live in a neighborhood with people, and showing you that it can be done and what you can do with really a big backyard, right? You don't have to have these acres upon acres upon acres. Is that stuff nice? Is there pros to that? Absolutely. But it can be done on a small space. And now that we have our septic out of the way, you know, this spring it's going to be off the chain of the projects that we'll be able to bring you and show you that we're doing. Okay, but I will be bringing you videos a couple days a week to show you kind of what we're doing. Okay, the other thing that I really got ready for frost, and that was my chicken coop. So again, I'm going to show you pictures here. I had these heavy moving blankets, and I basically just screwed in screws, and I hung these blankets around this one side, so I covered like 3/4 of the cage. Then I hung another one that was kind of around where the hen house is, and that was really just to help with the draft that was going through any of the cracks in the doors and the places that it opens. This coop opens in quite a few places, so there was quite a few places where draft could get in there, and so all I did was put another blanket on that side as well to kind of close off that really cold air whipping in, because I have 2 folds that I have to prepare for here where we live, and that was these 20-degree, 30-degree weather coupled with high winds. We have high winds here in Western Washington. And so it's not just cold, it's that whipping cold. And that's really what I wanted to stop, because chickens are hardy, chickens can handle a lot. But I really wanted to just stop that really Arctic high wind just from whipping in and really just getting them, right? I want them to be able to come outside, be comfortable, and not feel like it's, you know, it sucks for them just trying to go outside, right? And they've loved it, and it's worked, right? There hasn't been a day where even in this 20-degree weather, 30-degree weather, where they've spent the whole day inside the hen house, right? They've been coming out every single day and still enjoying, you know, the ground and their run and being out and about. And even a couple times it's been very windy and I've gone over there and they're still just kicking it, right? They're okay. So I hope this helps anybody watching to just kind of see the different things that you have to think about. I think that I did a pretty good job for it being my first year. However, I've already learned some stuff that I'll do differently next year, right? Especially with the covering of the winter crops that are still there. I'm not sure yet if I like the mesh. I will know, obviously, as we move forward in the weeks, if stuff starts to grow and I haven't stunted the growth of anything that I had out that was under the mesh. So although it's a little nerve-wracking to think like, I hope it worked, it didn't. And also I was experimenting and had certain plants that were leafy and more tropical, but they're in this area. So I thought, oh, I'm going to see if these plants make it in this cold conditions. And they did not, right? I had a bunch of elephant ears, and maybe they'll pop back up, but all the elephant ears, and there's nothing I could do. They're in the ground. But they do well in this area, but I guess probably they're just something that you cut down before frost and maybe cover with a mulch. I'd probably cut them down, cover them with a mulch, and just try to protect them as much, the roots as much as possible, so that in spring they'll come back. So we'll see. I left a few things out that I'm now regretting that I wouldn't have left out. So it is what it is, right? But I'm excited. I'm excited to learn the processes and learn exactly, you know, how cold does it get and how does that affect different plants that are growing. So one, I'm learning to grow these different foods. I'm learning to grow them in a different environment in general, right? A different zone than I'm used to. And then on top of that, I'm learning, you know, the level that the weather gets to and how it's affecting plants and stuff I can get away with and stuff that I cannot get away with. So I'll probably do an update here in a few weeks to let you know how some of these processes that I did, how they worked, and, you know, especially for the mesh, if I recommend it, then I'll make sure I do a link. I didn't do a link because I want to really see how it works out for me. So I'll see you guys next time on the next video. I hope you guys stay well. Blessings from my bear cave to yours. Bye.